Hi, Newport residents and those who live in the surrounding region. I'm Rick Ufford Chase, the mayor of Newport, Vermont, and this is Newport Notes with Rick, where I try and give quick updates most weeks that we have a council meeting to keep everybody up to date on what the council's working on and what's going on that's exciting and fun and creative in Newport. And this afternoon, I have a long laundry list of short little items that I want to make sure everyone is aware of. So I'm just going to run my way through the list. The first thing is probably the highest on my mind, and that is that we are currently advertising to fill a new position with the city called Financial and Office Administrator for the city of Newport. There's a job description on the city website, which is at newportvermont.org. newportvermont.org. You can go on and look under, I think it's city information, and you'll see a listing for jobs, and that will take you right to the job description for that position. We're looking for someone really who has a background in finance, and it doesn't have to be a finance person, but it should be someone who's familiar with how spreadsheets work and is able to manage numbers. And then we also are looking for someone in this person who will be kind of a general public-facing person, responding to public requests. And this person will be responsible for supporting our department heads and the council with office administrative tasks, including the paperwork behind human resources management. So when we bring on new hires or we let go of someone or someone has a work-related injury, this person will be responsible for working with the department head who's responsible for that employee and making sure that all the paperwork gets filled out appropriately. So it's a lot of detail work. And it has to be somebody who is genuinely pleasant and wants to engage the public. And if you think you might be that person or you might know someone who is that person, please do not tarry, because we intend to try and begin interviews in the next week or so. And I hope that we will have this position filled by the end of June, first week of July. The second is another opportunity. This one is a volunteer opportunity. On Monday night, the council met with several members of the fire department, Chief Kevin Lacoste and Andrew Carbine from the fire department, and took action on a recommendation that we create a strategic planning task force to try and develop a 5-year strategic plan for the future of the fire department. The council approved that recommendation unanimously, and we are taking names right now for the people who will make up that task force. I expect that they will be meeting roughly twice a month for the next 9 months or so, and that their job will be to look at best practices in other communities around the state that are similar to Newport, looking at Newport's future, what our needs might be given the development plans we have for our downtown, looking at the reality of how challenging it is to try and staff a volunteer program with entirely volunteers at this point. And then they will be bringing a series of recommendations back to City Council so that we can implement those recommendations methodically and intentionally over a period of years, instead of getting caught short 2, 3, 4 years down the road and feeling like we really should have planned ahead. So if you're interested in that task force, please reach out to me this week and let me know. You can email me at rick.uffordchase@newportvermont.org. That's rick.uffordchase@newportvermont.org, and let me know. Or just drop by and leave a note at the city office in the clerk and treasurer's office, and I will follow up. It would be great to have a short explanation as to your interest and what makes you want to be a part of this task force. I expect that there will be a mix of some people who have a lot of experience with the work of a fire department and some residents who don't have a lot of experience but care a lot about it. So please let us know if you're interested. Then I have a series of upcoming events I want to make sure are on your radar as the summer begins. The first is the Pride Parade that's coming up. This will be our 3rd annual Pride Parade, and it will be taking place, I believe it's on June 22nd, Sunday the 22nd. The parade will kick off at noon from the Built by Newport parking lot on the west end of town, and it will march down Main Street, across the causeway, and end at Gardner Park, where there will be an afternoon of activities in the area where the farmers market takes place over by the gazebo. And so if you're interested in that, please plan to come. If you'd like to be a part of the parade, reach out to the NEK Rainbow Coalition. You can find them on Facebook and ask more about how you can be directly involved in that parade. I'll be marching in the parade. I suspect several others will be from City Council along with me. I think Memphre will make an appearance again, as he has the last couple of years in the parade. And of course, the police department will be providing security, and the fire department will be there as well to participate in that parade. The second thing I want you to know about is that on Wednesday, I believe it's the 2nd, I could have that date wrong, of July, we'll kick off the Summer Wednesdays on the Waterfront series. Very excited about this. This is, I think, probably my favorite time of year and event that takes place in Newport. Every Wednesday night for 6 weeks through July and the first week of August, there will be a live band on the lawn in front of the state-owned Hebert building, which is down at the entrance to the Coventry Street at that intersection. And it's a free concert on the lawn. It's always amazing. And Newport Downtown Development is coordinating so that we'll have about 5 or so food trucks on Main. So we do Wednesday nights on Main, and there'll be food trucks available for those who would like to get a meal and just sit on the lawn and enjoy the concert. Those begin that first week of July. Also, on the 4th of July, there will be the normal festivities that take place in Gardner Park, but this year we have the wonderful opportunity to say thank you to those who have worked so hard over so many years to create the new Gardner Park playground, which is not quite complete, but is pretty spectacular. I happen to live where I can see the playground from my front porch, and all day long, on any day when it's not raining, there is activity going on, and sometimes a lot of activity going on in the new playground. I don't have the time yet for that event, but it will be taking place sometime late afternoon before the evening festivities begin. So please keep that in mind and come out to say thank you to the folks who worked so hard as we do a ribbon cutting and officially open the playground for the season. And then another ribbon cutting the following day on Saturday, the 5th of July, MEMSEC, which stands for the Memphremagog Science and Education Center, which is a part of Memphremagog Community Maritime, the group that owns the Northern Star cruise boat. MEMSEC is now fully occupying the second floor of the Gateway Center in the marina at the bottom of the Field Avenue here in downtown Newport. And it is quite a thing to behold. The staff and the board and volunteers of MEMSEC have pulled together a remarkable resource, and it's being used now quite actively by school kids, and it's going to be open on a regular basis to the community. The goal is to keep it at no or very low cost so that folks can really can enjoy the entire resource that we have. And that ribbon cutting will be taking place on the 5th of July. And I'm sorry that I don't have the time for that either, but I intend to make that a priority and to be there to say thank you to this crew that has worked so hard to make the Science and Education Center a reality for Newport. I hope you'll join me for that. And then another opportunity in downtown Newport this summer is that I talked yesterday with Mike Brown, who is the director of our recreation department. And Mike tells me that this year, all of the boat and bike rentals that are operated by the city of Newport are going to be moved from Gardner Park over to Prouty Beach to make them more accessible and hopefully get more use. So you should know that the city has a fleet of, I think, 6 or 8 regular bikes and 4 e-bikes. And they've had them out to be serviced, and they should be back later this week. You'll be able to rent bikes from the area there at Prouty Beach, and they'll be available for campers as well. And it could be a really fun way if you're hosting family to spend an afternoon together on the bike path. So know that that exists. In addition to that, last year the city was part of a large grant from the Vermont Outdoor Recreation Economy Collaborative that purchased, I think it's 4 or so pedal boats. And the pedal boats will be available off of Prouty Beach this year, and a dragon boat, a large decorated pedal boat that looks like a dragon. And those will be available for rental and for campers as well from Prouty Beach. It's a great way to get on the water and just get out a little ways so that you can feel like you're really on the lake. And then there's one more thing, which is the sailboats. Newport Community Sailing Center is a new nonprofit that was formed about 1.5 years ago. And they are now offering sailing lessons all summer long from Prouty Beach. Those lessons are offered to kids, but also to adults. So there's a kid program where they have 10 little tub sailboats, and the kids who are in the camp program offered by the city get to try sailing lessons for themselves. But there are also several larger boats for people who either know how to sail or would like lessons or would like to just go out with someone else who's sailing for them. You can find all of that on the Newport Community Sailing Center website. I don't have that reference right off the top of my head, but if you just Google those 4 words, I'm certain that you will find it. So I'm thrilled about that. I've been a part of that conversation since it began, and I think it's a huge asset to our community that we'll really begin to experience this summer. So I think those are the things I wanted to get out to you immediately, and then I want to just mention a few other things that the council is working on right now. One is, I think I may have mentioned after the last council meeting that we had a presentation about a tiny art project that is being sponsored by Newport Downtown Development. And I believe that this morning, my colleague and associate director, Felicia Updike, was here with a volunteer, Marlena, from Newport Downtown to describe the tiny art project. So if you have a moment, I encourage you to shift over and watch the Newport Connects video that NEK-TV produces for us each week, because that will describe this really great little project that's going to begin to try and beautify the city in small but significant ways around the city with help from local artists. And another item that I wanted to bring you up to date on is something that we talked extensively about at our committee meeting, our council meeting on Monday night. Council member Carter Finnegan works for NVDA, and her job with NVDA is to manage their project called MERP grants. These are Municipal Energy Resilience Program grants. And the idea is to help communities, cities, and villages modernize and make more efficient their own buildings in order to lower costs and to use less energy. And Newport's been awarded a grant of nearly $500,000 through this state-run program. And Carter's job, her day job, is to help villages and towns like Newport to take advantage of that program. And so we went over the details of that program and the direction that we're heading. It looks as if this year the program will really focus primarily on 3 city-owned buildings. That we'll be working on the municipal building itself. We'll be working some on the fire station, and we'll also probably be doing some work out at the Public Works building out across from Columbia Forest Products. And each of those projects will be a little bit different, but basically the goal is to try and make them as efficient as possible in terms of air leakage so that we're using as little energy as possible, and then actually to move into the area of trying to put in more modern furnaces or boilers or heat pumps in order to cool and heat those buildings. So appreciation to Carter for bringing the council up to date on that program the other night. And if you're more interested in that, you'd like to learn more about it, you could watch the council video that NEK-TV does every week, and they did one this week as well. And let's see, the last thing I think I want to talk a little bit about is to just give you all an update on where things stand with Newport Economic Development. I'll just remind the viewer that in December of 2024, just 6 months ago, the City Council unanimously approved a detailed master plan that lays out the potential for 9 development projects within our designated downtown, which basically begins at the Maple Fields and the old Family Dollar store and goes down Main Street and across the causeway and out as far as the East Side Restaurant on the left side of the road there, the waterfront side where the waterfront plaza is. So within that corridor, the development plan calls for 9 projects, the creation of as many as 410 units of housing, the probability for a new courthouse that the state would like to build here in Newport. I didn't know this until recently, but the state of Newport has obviously courthouses all over the state. Ours is, I believe, the second busiest courthouse in the state of Vermont. It's kind of a remarkable little tidbit. So a new courthouse, plenty of new commercial space, new parking, and hopefully some public recreation space downtown as well. That plan was approved in December. In January, the council signed a contract with a company called White and Burke. And they asked Newport Downtown Development and the Economic Development Task Force to manage that contract on behalf of the city. And the work that White and Burke is doing is to help us determine whether or not our projects are appropriate to use a device that the state offers called tax increment financing to build public infrastructure. So just to give an example, when we build out our downtown with a bunch of new housing and commercial opportunities, it's going to require probably some kind of a refitted or a new water, and not water, but a sewer main right down the middle of our main street. And the question is, how do we pay for such a thing? And so the tax increment financing program creates a way that we can bond and borrow the money to do these public infrastructure projects that will make otherwise impossible development projects more possible. And then the money that we have borrowed is paid back by the difference between the current level of taxation on a property like the empty block versus what will be there eventually and the new taxation level. So for the first 15 to 20 years, any difference in that property tax will go to paying off the debt that we had to incur in order to build out the infrastructure to make that project happen. So that contract was signed with White and Burke in January. We've been hard at work with White and Burke preparing and carrying out the work of the feasibility study. So by the middle of the summer, White and Burke should be able to provide us with an assessment of whether we are capable of paying back the infrastructure loans based on what we project we will build on those sites. And if the sites are determined to be feasible, then we will move into the next phase with White and Burke late this summer, which will be to create an actual application to the state of the state of Vermont, in order to make it possible for us to participate in the TIF program. One of the things that we've done that's been very exciting, I think I've mentioned it in earlier Newport Notes, is we've met with the governor and now met repeatedly with state commissioners, and in particular with the Buildings and General Services Commissioner, to talk about the state's buildings that are owned in Newport and what the state's long-term interests are and how we can best coordinate and make sure that we are building property that works both for the community and for the state of Vermont. So there's more to come on all of that, but I wanted you to know that though long periods of time may be going by, there is actually a lot of work going on in the background on those projects. I think that's it from me this week. I appreciate your paying attention to this long laundry list of items, and I expect to be back with you the week of the 16th of June following our next council meeting. Thanks very much.